picture this. You walk into your Cambridge IGCSE Computer Science exam. Yep, paper 0478. You flip it open, see a massive network question asking you to contrast a VPN with an extranet or, define a SAN. You write down exactly what you memorized, you walk out feeling amazing. But then, results day. You miss that crucial grade boundary by 2 marks. Why? Well, it's usually because you gave a generic, cookie-cutter textbook definition when the examiner was practically begging for a scenario application. Today, in this explainer, we're going to fix that forever. We're totally transforming your approach to this paper so you can turn those lost marks into guaranteed grades. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just look at the stark contrast on screen right now. On the left, we've got a super common, honestly painful student answer. An intranet is a private internet. Okay, 2 out of 10. I mean, it's not totally false, right? But it just bleeds marks because there's 0 technical depth. Now, look over on the right. 9 out of 10. Flawless. An intranet uses IP protocols under a single administrative entity closed to unauthorized users. See the difference there? The first one is basically a vague guess, but that second one, it's laser targeted. It literally forces the examiner to hand over those marks.
Section 1. Core Network Concepts Explained.
So, to consistently write those top-tier answers, we can't just rely on common sense. We have to use the exact vocabulary the syllabus is looking for. Let's really look at the definition of an intranet. It's a set of networks using IP-based tools, think standard web browsers, that's controlled by a single administrative entity, and it's totally closed off to anyone except specific authorized users. Listen, the absolute magic phrase here, pulled straight from the source material, is single administrative entity. That just means one single organization owns, manages, and governs the whole network. It's strictly internal to them. Honestly, if you skip that specific phrase in the exam, you are just leaving guaranteed marks sitting on the table.
But, what happens when that organization actually needs to securely share some of that info with the outside world, like maybe a trusted partner or a supplier? Well, that is exactly where the extranet comes in. Notice how an extranet is a network limited in scope to a single organization that often uses the public internet as a portal, but, and this is a big distinction, it remains fiercely protected from unauthorized access. The main takeaway to remember here is that the internet itself isn't actually part of the extranet. Instead, the internet is just acting like a secure gateway, allowing those authorized outside users to get into the company's private system.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute baseline knowledge you need before things get super complex. On one side, the intranet. It's strictly your internal network, run by one admin. Basically, think of it as the digital walls of a company's headquarters. On the other side, the extranet. That safely extends those walls out to specific external partners, using the internet as a protected portal. Lock this visual contrast into your brain right now, because understanding this difference is absolutely crucial. But on its own, it still won't guarantee you that top grade. Now, in just a few minutes, I'm going to reveal the ultimate examiner clue. I'm talking about a massive, high-value secret that can completely transform an average, mid-tier answer into a flawless, full-marks response. Seriously, if you want to ace this paper, you absolutely cannot miss this. But if I just blurted it out right now, you wouldn't really know how to use it. First, we need to understand the structural framework that actually makes this clue so incredibly powerful.
Which brings us to Section 2, the perfect answer framework.
So the crucial point here is this 4-step escalating stakes model. Step 1 is the concept. Step 2, evidence or data. Step 3, scientific reasoning. And step 4, examiner wording. Look, ordinary average revision completely fails because most students just stop at step 1. They literally drop a basic concept onto the page and speed right on to the next question. You can't do that. To secure the absolute highest marks, you've got to provide the evidence, clearly explain the technical reasoning behind it, and, this is key, frame the whole thing using the precise vocabulary from the mark scheme.
Moving right along to Section 3, Mastering Exam Command Words.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that there's a bit of a catch. This 4-step framework we just talked about, it's not static. It has to adapt instantly based on the specific command word the examiner drops at the very beginning of the question. Misunderstanding that command word is hands down the fastest way to write a brilliant answer that scores literally 0 marks. So let's translate this secret language. Looking at the first column, if the command word is state or define, the required action is just a concise fact. Please do not write a whole paragraph. But if the word is describe, you have to give characteristics. If they say explain, you've got to dive deep into the why and the how. Compare, that means tackling both sides of the issue.
And what about calculate or show? Well, if you don't show you're working, you get absolutely nothing. Even if your final number is 100% correct, you have to give the syllabus exactly what it demands based on those specific words.
All right, Section 4, welcome to the Mistake Clinic.
We're going to do a rapid-fire session right now, hitting those common traps where students just bleed marks unnecessarily every single year. Keep your focus super sharp on these bullets. Number 1, avoid repeating the exact same point with different words. Look, saying a network is fast and then saying it has high speed is only going to earn you 1 mark, not 2. Number 2, do not confuse validation with verification. Validation checks if data is actually sensible, while verification just checks if it was entered correctly. Huge difference. Number 3, and this is especially true for Paper 2 crossover topics, you must know the exact difference between boundary and extreme test data. And number 4, oh man, this one is huge. You absolutely must apply every answer to the specific scenario nouns given in the prompt. Actually, let's treat this right here as a mini checkpoint. Just cement this golden rule into your brain. 1 mark usually needs 1 distinct technical point. Make this the core of your exam strategy. If you're staring down a 4-mark question, you have to deliver 4 completely separate, distinct, and technically accurate points if you want full credit.
Let's move to the next slide and see how this actually builds a perfect answer live, step by step. And drumroll please, this is where we finally close that open loop from earlier and reveal that massive examiner clue I promised. Okay, step 1, definition. You state it's an IP network. Step 2, mechanism. You mention it operates under a single admin. Step 3, scenario example. You explain it specifically for storing internal company data securely. And step 4, consequence. You note that it's protected from the internet. By stacking these 4 elements together, you've just engineered a completely bulletproof response. And that ultimate examiner clue we teased? Yeah, it's step 3, the scenario example.
We really need to drive home this final, uncompromising rule. If the question gives a scenario, apply every answer to the scenario nouns and constraints. What does that mean? Well, if the exam question is talking about a hospital's network, do not talk about some generic office building. Talk about the doctors, the patient records, the hospital wards. Those are your scenario nouns. If you fail to use them, you literally lose the application marks instantly. No debate. It really is that simple. And is that strict?
So you've got the framework down. You know the exact technical differences between intranets and extranets. You know you absolutely unequivocally must use those scenario nouns. But wait a second. How do those command words actually decide your final mark band behind the scenes? Because here's the scary part. Even with a perfectly structured answer, you could still hit this invisible glass ceiling and lose out on an A star if you misjudge the specific depth that a single command word dictates. Honestly, your after-answer success absolutely depends on mastering this next framework. You just cannot afford to guess what the examiner wants. Subscribe to our YouTube channel Ace the Exams at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Our next explainer is diving incredibly deep into exactly how those command words decide your final mark band, and it is basically your mandatory next step to secure those top marks. I will see you there.